a minute. Do you want me to? Well, hello, welcome, Power Partners. This is our informational playground. It's Starstyle, Be the Star You Are, brought to the airwaves under the auspices of Be the Star You Are charity and coming to you on the Voice America Media Network. This is the Empowerment Channel. I am your host, Cynthia Brian. In today's show, we're going to be talking about some of the slang that teens are talking. If you don't like TikTok or Instagram and you don't hang out with teens, you might not be hip to the lingo because every generation of youth has its own language and its own slang. And I know we parents, we roll our eyes at the words, but the kids understand. So if you want to find out what everything means this year or at the right now, this is coming up in segment one. In segment two, when our intestines are functioning properly, our bodies are healthier. So, what can we do to incorporate into our daily lives, the harmony to keep our guts healthy? What foods would be the best for us? I'll give you a few tips. The miracle moment for today is brought to you by Be the Star You Are. The website is bethestaryouare.org. And this is one from the artist Pablo Picasso. Everything you can imagine is real. I like this because, I think an imagination is one of the most important things. Well, the weather has turned a bit. We've got rainy weather here in Northern California today. And I don't like that we had to turn our clocks back and that it's so dark in the afternoons now. It's like at 4 o'clock, it starts getting dark. That's yucky. It makes me feel like a bear. I don't know how you feel about that. So anyway, if you drink a glass of water, or I don't dare drink coffee because then you won't sleep at night, but grab a cup of tea and settle in because right now we're going to talk about slang and kind of teen slang. So, or if you are one of those people that gets confused by young people who laugh at that punchline 6, 7 or use mogging as a compliment, there is some good news. First, the confusion is probably the point, right? Today's slang is part of the changing lexicon that separates young people and the young at heart. And secondly, you are just usually a moment away from being in on the joke. I know when I was a teen, we used words like far out and can you dig it? And I don't know, cool. Oh, that is so cool. And hip. Oh, it's hip to be square, that kind of thing. So a lot of people still use those words, especially a lot of boomers. But today's teens and Gen Xers and are using social media and internet influence subculture. The language is changing faster than any of the elders can keep up with. So the Gen Zs, I should say, not the Gen X, and of course millennial. We've all had the different slang. So all the generations, as I said, have their own trends. And singer Billie Eilish was having a real significant impact on gender, and she had a lot of things that were happening, and a lot of kids will just take things from it. Now, one of the online tools used for words like Scrabble is on Scrabbler.com. And that draws data from a Google Trend search. And that kind of, bewildered folks who don't live on TikTok or Discord or Twitch. And they have to turn to the internet to figure out what the heck are our teenagers talking about today. I'm around a lot of teens, so I hear a lot of what they're saying. And I have to admit, I'm always saying, okay, what does that mean? Sometimes I don't even know what it means, but they're just using it. I remember last year the teens were using the word fire so much. That's so fire. Oh, that is really fire. And it really meant for me, that's so cool. That's really hip. But it's nothing new. Linguists and others that study verbal communication have said that, we have been for generations, for I guess centuries, young people have always had their own language. And we, as we get older, we will just sort of roll our eyes at things that the younger kids are saying. But this has been probably happening for thousands and thousands of years. And the whole point of young people having their own language is that it's not meant for the adults, it's meant for the young people. That's the very nature of slang. Slang means it's something that's constantly changing from generation to generation, and it is meant to confuse us or befuddle us. And it doesn't mean, though, that the younger generation don't know how to communicate, because they do. They are just using their slang they even do it in their papers and their tests and even professional settings. But they know that there's different kinds of languages, and they know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate depending on who they are talking to. But again, if you get confused, you can go to that Unscrambler website. Now, popular slang this year continues to be heavily influenced by, like I said before, TikTok, Instagram, from streaming sites, from Gen Z, from gaming communities. And the trends from social media, they just spread so rapidly via the memes and the viral challenges. Of course, technology is what's fueling it all. And our language adapts to the new slang trends more rapidly than ever before. Um, Now, the number 6, 7, that has drawn the highest number of searches, and it has absolutely no literal meaning. I was watching PBS the other night, and they were talking about 6, 7 and that whole same thing. It's just meant to be an absurd bit of, you know, influencer humor, I guess. The origin comes from a Skrilla song, and it is, as well as a basketball player who was named LaMelo Ball, who appears in a viral video. He's about 6 foot 7 inches tall. And again, it really doesn't mean anything, but 6, 7 is a slang that is really, really big right now. And maybe by the time you hear this, it'll already be gone, because that's how slang works. Ohio is another absurdity. It's used to describe something strange, weird, cringy, and it's not meant to be mean to people who live in Ohio or anything, but for some reason, that is another one saying, oh God, that is so Ohio. So instead of it being cool, it means it is weird. A bop is someone who has a lot of romantic partners, like I'm bopping from person to person. It is not meant as a compliment. And in fact, unfortunately, bopping is used a lot in cyberbullying. I guess it's kind of like somebody's hooking up with, a lot of people. Mogging, Mogging. This is a good thing because it means you are outdoing others. Because if you're a mogger, you are more attractive, you're more skilled, or maybe you're even more successful. A huzz, Huzz, and I suppose you can spell them anyway, but this is the way I'm spelling it, is a really attractive girl or a group of girls, or it's somebody that you want to impress. And then if you say, well, just don't glaze, that means you're trying to heap someone with excessive and insincere praise. And that's the key word here is insincere. So if you're glazing someone, you're being insincere with the praise. Now, chopped means the opposite of huzz. It is something ugly or undesirable. Again, huzz, oh boy, she's a huzz. That is an attractive person, but if that person is chopped, no, they are ugly and undesirable. Having a big back refers to someone who is physically big or who draws some gentle teasing for hogging food or being lazy. Now, I know that we used to say when someone like was hogging food that they were like a vacuum cleaner. We'd call them, you're a Hoover. Like Hoover vacuum cleaner, because they were just eating everything, in sight. Oh, look at Hoover. Well, now it's calling a big back. You're not lazy if you're zesty. So, what zesty means, a zesty person is lively, exciting, energetic. So, everybody wants to be zesty. Yes, I'm so zesty. Now, you might want to collect a phantom text that's named for a streamer and content creator popular on Twitch and Instagram. And that is for playfully stealing fries or chips or some other bits off a friend's plate. So that's collecting a phantom tax. I, I'm glad I'm learning all these things because I'm not going to remember them. I can tell you that. I had to write them down. Um, and if you're talking about that, something like, we're hoping this story is a green FM, that means it's a guaranteed win. And that is derived from the NBA, the Y2K game, in which a perfect shot is marked in green. But it is possible that we are delulu. Delulu means that you are delusional. So I guess we can all say, oh, that is just delulu. Now, what we can guarantee is that a story was not written by a clanker. So that would be a bot or an artificial intelligence. Like on all of my books now, I have to put a sticker that says authored by a human. So that means that it's not written by a clanker. So it's not written by a bot or artificial intelligence. So I hope that helps you a little bit when you go out and you can, if you want to be cool, you can start throwing around the words, the numbers, I guess, 6, 7, or Ohio, if you want to act like something is strange or weird or cringy, or a bop or mogging or huzz or glaze or chopped or big back. But most of all, you just want to be zesty. And you don't want to write anything or be a clanker, which is a bot or AI. You're listening to Cynthia Brian. This is Starstyle, Be the Star You Are. We'll be right back with a business bite, and then we're going to talk about the habits for a healthy gut. Don't go away. Do you know the benefits of being outdoors? Studies show that spending time outdoors decrease levels of the hormone cortisol. It lowers blood pressure and it reduces other markers of stress. Relaxation is the reward. Exercise is a critical pillar of optimum health. So go outside because it encourages you to get up and to move. You can hike, bike, garden, swim, stroll. Physical activity is paramount. Moods are lifted when you spend time in green spaces. Forest bathing for reducing depression and anxiety is an easy prescription. The beauty of nature lowers levels of inflammation in the body. You experience the awe. Pollution is the culprit for many illnesses, including respiratory problems, cancer, and heart disease. So go outside and breathe in the fresh air. Add these nature prescriptions to your daily routine for a better personal and business life. Remember, you're the star of your own performance. Turn your passions into profits. I'm Cynthia Brian with another business bite from Starstyle. For more information, visit cynthiabrian.com. That's Brian with an I.com. Well, we are back. I thank you for staying tuned to Star Style, Be the Star You Are. I hope you're still feeling zesty. I am. I'm Cynthia Brian, and now we're going to discuss how to create some habits and healthy habits for you to have a healthy gut, because our everyday health and lifestyle habits really can harm us and put us out of harmony with our gut microbiome. And that's where bacteria resides in the gut. Now, research continues to show that the powerful impact of a well functioning intestine can have on our whole body health and our wellness. We need a balanced and diverse gut microbiome, and which supports the immune system, enhances nutrient absorption, and it will reduce the risk of developing many gastrointestinal conditions. And so there are a lot of different habits that you can incorporate every day to help keep your gut in tip-top shape. One of them is eating a variety of foods. I talk about this a lot. I just talked about being outdoors. I like to grow all my own vegetables. You can't grow everything all the time, but as many as I can. I like to grow herbs and vegetables and fruits. And if you can't grow them, if you can get them at get organic things at a farmer's market. But the key is to eat a variety of foods. Eat a diet that is filled with more variety, and that'll help strengthen your gut and that'll give you some ultimate wellness. When we have some dietary diversity, what we're doing is providing a broader spectrum of nutrients, and that nurtures the growth and the diversity of the bacteria in our intestines. And that is closely linked to enhanced digestion, better immune function, reduced gastrointestinal, good word there, and chronic metabolic disorders. So you got to mix up your eating plan by selecting seasonal vegetables, and you can eat them fresh, toss them in a stir fry, make a soup, a salad, whatever it is. But you want to try different types of nuts to add to your trail mix. In other words, don't just always eat the same thing. You may also want to grow a few herbs on your windowsill. Like right now, it's getting towards the end of the season, so basil is going out. So I'm trying to use as much basil as possible. But my thyme and my parsley and my rosemary and my sage, they're perennials. So I can chop those up and use them all the time. And I also have chives and garlic chives that really add, flavor to the food, and they grow year round. And they can grow on anybody's windowsill, a balcony, a patio. You don't really need a lot of space. So if you just have a window, that's good. Now, you also have to eat some carbs. Often carbs are thought as bad, but the reality is there are several carbs that you really do need to be eating. And when you cut back on carbs, you can miss out on the fiber. And non-digestible carbohydrates have a beneficial effect on the human health and on that microbiome I was talking about. So there are multiple types of fiber, and that is including soluble and insoluble, and that'll keep you full. It'll stabilize your blood sugar, and it will prevent any constipation as well. And then there's prebiotic fiber, and that nurtures your gut as well. So you want grains, starchy vegetables. These are fiber-rich foods that provide the gut with prebiotics, and that feeds good bacteria. You also want to eat full fat foods. Like butter, ghee, coconut oil. They're often demonized for their high saturated fat content, but you don't want to banish them completely because there's no reason to. Saturated fat should make up no more than 10% of your daily caloric intake. That's about 22 grams of fat if you're on a 2,000 calorie diet. I know we don't all count calories, but most of it, that's probably about what you do. But butter contains this butyric acid, which is a short chain fatty acid, and it's known to promote some gut health and lessen inflammation. So when you have a little bit in moderation, put a little bit on that baked potato. That it'll be good for you. Add a little bit of yogurt and put those chives, and you've got kind of a complete carb with something that is going to be good for your gut. One thing people don't eat a lot is they don't eat the peels. Peels are really important. Apple, cucumber, carrot peels. I know people, scrape them off, but it's not a good idea. Don't put them in the trash because of their texture or appearance. Sometimes if you put down that peeler and you keep the outer layers on, it's really a good thing. Now you do have to wash them if buying them at the store. Well, you wash them if you pull them out of the garden as well. But those outer layers are rich in vitamins, fibers, minerals, and antioxidants, and that really supports your health and overall well-being. Yesterday, I picked apples and I made this really yummy applesauce with no sugar. And it was simple because I just cut the apples into bits, peel and all, added cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, a little bit of ginger, and lemon juice. And I used also the rinds of the lemon, and I made a packet for my neighbor who wasn't feeling good. And it's really delicious with no sugar because the apples already had sugar, but also really, really good for you. So consider eating the peels of the carrots, the potatoes, beets, eggplant, kiwi, cucumber, citrus fruits, and winter squash. You can make munching on skins tasty. You could whip it up into a smoothie if you want. Or yeah, I actually chop a lot of those up and I just add them when I'm sauteing something else. Even if I made a salmon the other night and I actually sauteed some pears and some lemon rinds and celery, and it tasted really good. Another thing that's good for you is coffee. Drink coffee. Now, moderate coffee consumption has beneficial effects on gut function. And I talked about this in another episode, but it really can support your digestion and positively influence the makeup of the bacteria in your gut. So, if you enjoy that morning cup of Joe and your body tolerates it well, coffee can offer a health promoting nutrient, and it has been studied for the effects. Coffee is filled with polyphenols. It's a family of plant compounds, and they're active in the body and they contribute to health because they reduce inflammation. And they are also capable of increasing the amount of beneficial bacteria that is residing in your intestine, and they have protective effects against harmful types of bacteria. Plus, all this research is showing that coffee, both decaf and caffeinated, can help one-third of the population with like regular bowel movements, and that is also important part of healthy digestion. Now, sleep, I do a lot of episodes on sleep. It's always a little different, and I'm going to do one on dreams coming up soon. But we know that we have to get our Z's, because if we don't get our Z's, we won't have energy, we won't have focus, we'll be in a bad mood. And it's possible that you don't even know that you're getting less than optimal sleep, because scientists have shown that there's a special connection between your gut microbiota and your sleep via the relationship between your gut and your brain. That's known as the gut brain axis. Who would have thought that our intestines and our brain are so connected, right? So, our guts are actually called the second brain, and agents produced in the gut, like the short chain fatty acids, are actually known to communicate with the central nervous system. So, when we are experiencing deep sleep deprivation, this will impact our circadian rhythm, and that can actually change the diversity of our microbiome and the structure of gut microbes. So, if you compromise your nightly sleep and you don't get at least 7 hours of sleep, the chances are the diversity in your gut will become compromised. And that can increase some issues that could put you at greater risk of having intestinal disturbances. So you have to remember that your path to better gut health isn't limited to taking any pills. You don't need to take probiotic pills. Instead, you just have to focus on like some small changes in your everyday routine, and that would really sustain you for the long haul. You need to add new foods to your grocery list. You need to enjoy your coffee, and don't peel your fruits, do it less, and have some new habits, and your digestion will be supported. And that's really very, very important. And there are things that could be really good for you. For example, You want to have your leafy vegetables. So spinach and kale, lettuces. Now, there's not a whole lot of nutrients in iceberg, but people love the crunchiness. But the darker the green, the better it is for you. But again, you want to mix it up. You don't always want to eat the same thing all the time. So it's so much better if you can have a good selection of food that is in season. So for right now, for example, apples, grapes are, as when it comes to fruit, are in season. Persimmons are will be coming soon, so will pomegranates. If a lot of times it's better actually to buy some frozen, like if you want corn, corn is finished for the year, but if you could get frozen corn or frozen peas, that would be good because the ones you're not going to get really fresh. And that's the important thing is you want to sustain as many nutrients as possible. And then when it comes to meat and fish, just mix it up. If you know, are a carnivore and you eat different kinds of meats, have different things. Eat lamb, eat pork, eat beef, have salmon, have trout, have cod. So don't just have the same thing every day because if you are eating the same thing, if you're only eating peanuts and you're only eating cashews, you're not getting a variety of different things that are going to help your intestines. Yogurt is really important to have a teaspoon of honey, and avocados are always really excellent. And don't forget a little bit of olive oil every day, and that garlic is going to keep the vampires away. Or, as my mom used to always say, the evil eye. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the show for today. I hope that you will create some healthy habits for your gut so that you can eat well and eat some yummy salads and vegetables and fruits, etc., as well as start talking with young people so that you're up on all the nice new slang, 67, and that you be zesty at all times. You can change your life. You can make your dreams come true. For more information about me or Star Styles Productions, visit cynthiabrian.com. I did just release my newest children's book, Flap Forward, Fly Free. It's the fourth book in the Stella Bella Barnyard Adventure series. It is available at that website, cynthiabrian.com, or Amazon, or wherever you buy your books. Just ask for the Stella Bella Barnyard Adventure series. If you want to know about the charity, Be the Star You Are, again, you can buy the books there. All money goes to the charity anyway. Be the Star You Are is at bethestarur.org. And my aim is always to encourage, inspire, inform, amuse, and motivate. See beyond your physical being. Know you are already the star you dreamed of becoming. Cherish the past, dream of the future, and celebrate this moment because it's the only moment you have in life. And I do hope that you will pick up a book. I always say a book is like a garden in your pocket. And until we play next week on the Star Style Playground, remember that love always wins, kindness always prevails, and smiles will keep us happy. My name is Cynthia Brian. This program is Star Style, and we thank you. I want you to be kind, be inclusive, tell the truth, live with integrity, embrace cultures, love unconditionally, encourage others, be generous, read, lead, succeed, communicate, collaborate, innovate. Be your unapologetically authentic self because everyone counts. And I encourage you to go out into the world and just be the star you are. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. We'll be together again next week. And also make sure to tune in to our teen show on Express Yourself Teen Radio every Sunday right here on Voice America Media. Thanks for joining me. Make sure to play and make it a great day.